Abigail George. I am feasting on the glorious fat of an iceberg. This apartheid is wretched and separates the son's wife from the bonds of the groceries. Your health is milk, while I eat a stale croissant that teaches me about winter. I come across you in worship songs about nature still. Your lotus feet a parable, while I walk these streets under a sun that feels as if it is oak syrup pouring through my hands like an archive of ephemera. You are Palestine, while I am South Africa. Death becomes the layers of the stale croissant. My eyes see and hear. I rise like flags. My arms are like doves. Pale subject matter that triumphs in blue. In the waters of the swimming pool, back and forth, the captain of the leaf falls, soaking up the magnitude of the distress of the day, the hours that fill my solitude. This dazzling image of your being is like two birds. It won't last long. I've never been to Palestine. I do not know her people, its folds or folklore. The clouds there exist along the folds of the sea and the folklore of the hills. These dates nourish my soul. I'm just about surviving. My interests do not serve you anymore. I'm forgiving of the hardness found in the branches around me. Class suffocates me. Your air is found in the genius shake of a fish, the rooftops of Palestine, the people of the lake. This is the sign of the times we are living in. The leaf falls while I float away, oblivious to the stares of the river at my...
We are at war. Your rifle is Abigail. This AK-47 Kalashnikov you carry is an insecticide. So when you go out, you look your enemy in the eye, take off the safety, cock your rifle, and shoot. I remember the drill. And mama, today I killed a cockroach. Liquid matter spurted out of its thorax, laid still on the ground. I watched it closely, afraid that it might spread its wings and fly. Remembering how you told me that a cockroach can still survive even without its head, so when it's wriggled, I cocked my rifle and shot it again. When you're at war, gunshots are holograms reflecting vibrations of your soul, but the parts become pastries. You're taught to fight a war you never started, trained to survive a bullet that was never meant for you. But how do you win the war going on inside when the enemy you is constantly eavesdropping on your battle strategies? Post-traumatic stress is all the trap beneath the debris of your skin, see? You don't tell a black kid like me the life is not fair. My skin is enough weakness. Our hearts are dumbbells, heavy enough to grow these fragile muscles to tell us, be fearless, be gruesome, be cruel. And what about someone like me who just want to be alive? We've been told that everyone beyond this line is a cockroach. No one is telling us that we here are rodents, but I know, because once you try deserting, someone will rat on you. The general says that the more you kill, the better it gets. The more you kill, the better it gets. The more you kill, the better it gets. And every day, I ask myself, why does ethnic cleansing seem so filthy? A war is a war, there's nothing civil about this one, and you tell me, how much does the Holocaust? How many dead bodies did we even? How does one erase genocide completely from a history book? Mama, you know today was supposed to be my first day in school, but I'm a soldier now. When you're at war, it's your duty to fight, to protect, to serve your country. This is what it means to be a
Let us go down the creeks for bodies unredeemed, for broken bones, guts, and gore and blood intermixed with oil deeply rooted in our soil, for a vanquished race and a stolen mace, for unemployed graduates with outstretched arms begging for arms before desperately picking on firearms, for pregnant teenagers and little girls married, for orphan children who hopelessly look up to soot-darkened skies as they bathe, eat, and drink from tainted pools of liquid gold. It is a crude way to die. It's our cruel way of life. We fill our empty bellies with laughter and close our bloodshot eyes to dreams of better days and better places where we become kings of our own realities, and thieves no longer steal our nights nor fill our eardrums with tall tales by moonlight like story. Once upon a time, we were told of a change. A paradigm shift of power like narrow notes in the hands of impatient passengers in the pockets of dirty conductors conducting a choral cacophony of foul-mouthed men that mutter incoherent prayers for leaders they curse at day. Men that curse and pray. Men that hold the truth. Men who never knew the importance of voting booths. Let us go down to the creeks of angry deities where we call on thunder to fire people as we count our laws. But how come thunder is silent when we are told stories meant for gods like story, once upon a time? Can't you see that men have become gods and gods have become us? And when I say us, I don't include myself in the exclusive caucus of men who exclude the minority who in truth are the majority of the masses. The same caucus of men that crept up in the dark night of our conscience, stole our youth, seized our voice, sealed our lips with coins but filled our pockets with stones so we could drown in rivers of white lies and black noise. They called us the leaders of tomorrow, but told us we were too young to lead. Then sent us bare feet and exposed buttocks to retrieve ballot boxes we were made to steal. Alaye Joe. This starved generation is fed up. We will no longer open our eyes and shut our mouths. Your sticks and stones might break our bones, but nothing will prepare you for the fatality of this fragile words.
The Invasion by Hope Activate. Like invaders they came. They commandeered our airspaces, grounded our planes, and sailed our ships. Like tiny, fiery, spiky snowflakes in spring, an unlikely sight, they settled in as dainty fairies. Guns pointed at our heads, they rounded us up as prisoners of war. They locked us in, these fiery, hairy snow fairies. Now we gaze through bars, learn the new word frenemies. We unlearn the new human habits, no hugging, our arms tied backwards as one repressed by leprosy. We picked up an alien language, we wear masks. We shield our palms off friendships, and then we wash. We eat, drink, we wash. We touch, we cuddle, we wash. We rise, we wash. We sit, we wash. We wash up, we wash down. We wash in, we wash out. Between and around, and so even in our dreams we wash. Our hearts now grip with the fear that these invincible, unwanted guests might never leave. Will this invasion end? And will the invaders ever leave? So in white and blue capes, masks as shields, gloves as swords, our angels said, we are humans. We were born for this. Flew up and faced the invaders. Locked down, we gazed through prison bars. We heard the sound of explosions. Beheld signs of onslaughts, angels against fairies, fairies against angels. And from the sky they fell. Snow fairies twined to our angels, dropping as unwanted balls. They flickered as dying flames, quenched for their families and their friends. We are humans. We were born for this. This we have seen before and we conquered. Fear we will always have with us, so we turn inwards, unbreak our super spirits and wash and wait, for soon the sun will rise and the invasion will end.
Thank you for having me. I'm glad, I'm honored. In answer to your question, to your request for more information about the protagonists, Bassi and Odauza, I'd say Bassi is guilt-stricken. He started life brilliant, brimful of promise. He notched up academic feats. However, when he embarked on his dream professional training, recall of the past began to haunt him. He sank into self-hate, and he never wriggled free of his guilt. Uzoatu had been privileged and protected, if not always pampered. Then events in her young life devastated her. She later began to bemoan her actions and omissions in a certain unforgettable episode of her life. Guilt and regret were factors that bound her to Bassie, and the two were ultimately impelled into waters they couldn't swim. In answer to the question whether I approve of celibacy or the vow of celibacy of Catholic priests, I hesitate to answer that for two reasons. Firstly, I feel I'm not sufficiently instructed in Catholic doctrine to pronounce upon that hallowed, cardinal tenet of Catholic priesthood. Secondly, I feel I lack the spiritual stature to discuss it. However, I can be discursive on the peripheral, rather. I read that Mahatma Gandhi, at some stage in his struggle for India's independence, espoused celibacy. Blessed Michael Iwenetanse, he's been canonized, I understand, reportedly said, if you're to be a Christian at all, you might as well live entirely for God. I find that many outstanding men through the centuries, not only spiritual or national leaders, but inventors, writers, musicians, artists, lived lives that seemed to reflect voluntary celibacy. A name that comes to mind is Nikola Tesla, called in the last century the man who invented everything. It said the Western civilization we have today wouldn't exist but for him. And he had no known or lasting romantic attachments, and quite a number of other men were like that in history. I think the Wright brothers, inventors of the aeroplane, were like that, Isaac Newton, Beethoven, and so on. I have a feeling that these exceptional men espoused celibacy because they drew power from it. They could focus and achieve their staggering feats because they freed themselves from the proclivities of much of humanity. I feel too that some of these men may have procured outlets for their bodily urges occasionally, but it is probable that for most of their lives they were celibate. If someone takes the vow of celibacy and breaks it sometimes, I can understand that, because however spirit-filled one is, that spirit is encased in flesh. You asked if I'd like a blockbuster movie to be made of Thou Shalt Not, or stage productions, Shaftesbury Avenue, Broadway. I'd be glad for a movie to be made of it. It would be a period movie as it's set in the 1920s, approximately a century ago. Stage productions would be welcome, but I feel the big screen would do it the greater justice. About my penchant for alliteration and assonance, I must add, I see it as a challenge and a treat to write those sentences, those paragraphs. When Bassie sails to England, past Freetown, Sierra Leone, it goes, the buoyant boat bobbed beyond the bubbly bay of Freetown, bound for the Canaries. Outrageous, isn't it? And about some man who was staunchly pro-colonialist, that was in the 1920s, it goes, he had a propensity provoking to proponents of African political placation, and about Bassi resolving the disputes of members of his congregation. Peacemaking procured peeks into polemics, piquant privacies. Utterly preposterous. I enjoy it. Where the book can be found, you asked. It should be available at Salamander Bookshop in Wuse, Abuja, probably at the City Plaza Bookshop as well, and other retail outlets. Yes, I'd gladly oblige you by reading some sentences from the book, Thou Shalt Not. It was late afternoon. Bassi sat in the cool shade of a tree outside the parsonage, his art equipment before him. Blank canvas or drawing paper roused him to mingled elation and apprehension. Glancing at the bottles of watercolor before him, Bassi's gaze gradually rested on his favorite hue, red. He had sometimes visualized the perfect red. It would be untamed, sublime, unimpeachably pure, demure, redolent of superhuman strength, humorous, uproarious. Bassi's dream red would be rich, without a tint of pink or hint of peach. That red was radiant, riveting, rapturous, restorative, regal. Thank you for having me.
We shall vote with stones. We shall vote with stones. Now that ballot paper stands annulled. They come back mutant, caught a hail of stones cast as votes. It is incumbent on stones to vote for our evil genius, the power incarnate that turns out to stone. Stone, the engineered nomadic transition and annulment. Stone naked, he fled from war and history. The Mina hilltop glass house caused a shower of stones by the crooked dodge to develop massive Lagos roads. Naked returning covers cities on the rock, and there's one song is put to the flute. Now that ballot stands and all, we shall vote with stones.